On to yet another instance, ladies and gentlemen, that should draw concern for all of us watching this broadcast. Parents who aspire to send their wards, their children to some of the best top-notch academic institutions in the West. This is a story that touches every individual. A story calling out genocide apologists. Since the 7th of October, Hamas terrorist attack on Israel, the US Department of Education opened an unprecedented number of investigations into alleged incidents of hate on college campuses. Three of the top most prestigious universities in the United States face some very tough questions. In a high-profile congressional hearing, presidents of the three universities, Harvard University, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and the University of Pennsylvania, refused to explicitly say that calls for genocide of Jewish people violates campus rules on harassment, and instead they went on to say that it is not bullying or harassment. The universities are being condemned for not defending this outright anti-Semitic sentiment in their campuses, one that is nothing but bigotry and hate, one that is a genocide call against an entire community of people, the Jews. Outright hatred against anybody who is Israeli or Jew.
At MIT, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate MIT's code of conduct or rules regarding bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
If targeted at individuals, not making public statements.
Yes or no? Calling for the genocide of Jews does not constitute bullying and harassment?
I have not heard calling for the genocide for Jews on our campus.
But you've heard chants for intifada.
I've heard chants, which can be anti-Semitic depending on the context, when calling for the elimination of the Jewish people.
So those would not be according to the MIT's code of conduct or rules?
That would be investigated as harassment if pervasive and severe.
Ms. McGill, at Penn, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Penn's rules or code of conduct? Yes or no?
If the speech turns into conduct, it can be harassment, yes.
I am asking specifically calling for the genocide of Jews. Does that constitute bullying or harassment?
If it is directed and severe or pervasive, it is harassment.
So the answer is yes.
It is a context-dependent decision, Congresswoman.
It's a context-dependent decision. That's your testimony today. Calling for the genocide of Jews is depending upon the context. That is not bullying or harassment. This is the easiest question to answer yes, Ms. McGill.
If the speech becomes conduct, it can be harassment, yes.
Conduct meaning committing the act of genocide? The speech is not harassment? This is unacceptable, Ms. McGill. I'm going to give you one more opportunity for the world to see your answer. Does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Penn's code of conduct when it comes to bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
It can be harassment.
The answer is yes. And Dr. Gay, at Harvard, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Harvard's rules of bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
It can be, depending on the context.
What's the context?
Targeted at an individual.
It's targeted at Jewish students, Jewish individuals. Do you understand your testimony is dehumanizing them? Do you understand that dehumanization is part of anti-Semitism?
Anti-Semitic rhetoric, when it crosses into conduct that amounts to bullying, harassment, intimidation, that is actionable conduct, and we do take action.
So the answer is yes, that calling for the genocide of Jews violates Harvard Code of Conduct, correct?
Again, it depends on the context.
It does not depend on the context. The answer is yes, and this is why you should resign. These are unacceptable answers across the board.
Unacceptable answers across the board, and some of the top academic institutions in the US of A, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't stop there. There are others who have raised concerns that this perhaps intellectual corruption has been far infiltrated across multiple institutions. Genocide apologists. Are the top academia intellectually corrupted?
Hello, Moto.
Anand Ranganathan, author and political commentator with us, is also a scientist. Dr. Anand Ranganathan, namaste. Tehseen Poonawala, political analyst with me here in the studio. Namaste. Professor Vijay Vishwanathan, author, co-author of Snakes in the Ganga, should be joining us from San Francisco very, very soon. And Vivek Srivastava, political analyst, also with us. Namaste and Jai Hind to everybody. Thank you very, very much. Dr. Ranganathan, does this concern you, sir?
Good evening, Anand, and good evening to my fellow panelists. Yes, it does concern me. But I want to trigger a wider debate because I feel there are two issues here, and we might be ending up discussing just one of them and ignore the other because it's comfortable. Number one, yes, the presidents of Harvard, MIT, and UPenn should be condemned for saying that calling for the genocide of Jews does not violate their university's code of conduct, and in effect, they will take action only when the conduct happens, i.e., their Jews are actually killed. Anand, a call for genocide or a call to behead does not come under the umbrella of free speech in our opinion, because such calls have direct bearing on the physical safety of the victim. It is like a rape threat. It does not conform to free speech. So yes, rationalizing calls for Jews to be killed is unacceptable. It is an open-ended, extrajudicial, extra-constitutional call to everyone and anyone will take it up, and that is the danger. It would have been interesting, though, to know if the presidents of these universities would have held the same opinion where calls for genocide of Palestinians were made. If they did, then it has to be accepted that their views are not exclusively anti-Semitic, just misinformed and confused about what constitutes free speech. Number two, but I want to ask, Jews are the worst of creatures, 98.6, 855. Jews should be condemned to hellfire, 455. Jews are apes, 265, 7, 166. Jews are led by Satan, 460. Jews are eternally cursed, 447. I want to ask, did the president of Harvard say this? No. These statements are accepted at face value, never condemned by billions. But do we criticize those billions? Shall I inform you of what is worse as penalty from Allah? It is that those whom Allah has cursed and with whom He became angry and made them apes and pigs and slaves of Taghut, 560. Did the president of MIT say this, Anand? But is it considered hate speech by those condemning Harvard right now? The Jews say Erza is the son of Allah. That is their statement from their mouths. They imitate the saying of those who disbelieve before them. May Allah destroy them, 930. This is an open declaration to destroy Jews. Did the president of some Ivy League university say this? Israel will continue to exist until Islam obliterates it, just as it has obliterated others before it. The day of judgment will not come about until Muslims fight Jews and kill them. Then the Jews will hide behind rocks and trees, and the rocks and trees will cry out, "Oh Muslim, there is a Jew hiding behind me, come and kill him," unquote. Did the president of UPenn say this, or Harvard? No. This is verbatim the preamble of the charter of Hamas, and Hamas was democratically elected by the Palestinians. Anand, one may fidget and squirm and feel uncomfortable by these facts that I have told before you. But the truth is, we are yet again falling into the trap of snaring the fundamentalists, but sparing the fundamentals.
Vivek Srivastava?
Yes. Now see, there was a beautiful rhetoric by my dear friend Anand Ranganathan. He is confusing Palestine and Hamas. He is confusing the Jews with Israel, and that is where the problem starts. The whole narrative of Dr. Anand Ranganathan is religion-based. It is Jews versus Christians versus Muslims. Muslims means Hamas and Hamas means Palestine. And this is the wrong narrative. Everybody condemned unequivocally whatever happened on October the 7th. Everybody said the violence of Hamas is wrong, it should be condemned. However, for 70 years, what Israel has been doing over there, that also needs to be condemned. When the Holocaust happened, the communists fought. We fought for the Jews, we fought against Hitler, we destroyed him, and so we are not anti-Jews. However, today what the state of Israel is doing, what Netanyahu is doing over there, that needs to be condemned. When the Secretary General of the United Nations wanted a ceasefire, even then there were people who were not even ready for a ceasefire. They said, fine, Israel should be allowed to take the revenge. So revenge is what is justified, and our beloved Prime Minister, our country, our Foreign Minister we also abstained from voting in that particular thing, which is very unfortunate. So it is, I mean, we should not see things from the perspective of religions. We should see things from the perspective of politics in which religions are involved. For example, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Turkey, there are so many countries which are Islamic countries. They did not support the cause of Palestine. India did. We have a whole history. We have a whole history, right, from Mrs. Gandhi's time when Yasser Arafat used to come. Yes. Obviously,
Vivek,
second thing is
sir, 1 minute,
Yes.
please. Please do not miss the woods please do not miss the woods for the trees. This is academic institutions which are saying calling for the genocide of a particular group of people
Yes.
is
Now
okay.
I'm coming to that.
Is
Now I'm coming
okay.
to that.
That,
Now
you
I'm
know,
coming to that.
in all
Now
your
I'm coming to
politics
that.
and semantics, please don't like Anand was saying, don't forget the fundamentals, sir. The fundamentals is this. Yeah, Anand Ranganathan wants to respond. Yes, and then
Thank you.
I'll just take 10 seconds more because I've not
okay,
spoken to the university.
Anand, just 30 seconds more, please.
I'll
to
take 10
waste
seconds more.
Anand,
I'll take 10 seconds.
Yeah,
10 seconds
please,
more. Okay?
please.
Now, Anand himself, I mean, I have a lot of respect for Dr. Anand Ranganathan, a very intelligent man. I find him a very honest individual, a man who speaks very well, and he's a brilliant teacher. I want to ask him, what is the duty of a teacher? You want to punish, you want to train, you want to improve, what do you actually want to do, or you want to victimize? It was rightly said that yes, out of context, these remarks which were anti-Jewish were made over there. They are wrong remarks. They should not have been made. But it was also rightly said by the academicians of the place that we need to see the context in which they were made. Are they actually harmful? Are they actually being directed towards somebody?
No, whatever be the context, sir, tomorrow if in one of the universities, let Anand Ranganathan respond. Yes, Anand Ranganathan, please.
Right. As I already explained, the violent threats, for example, a rape threat, for example, such and such person must be raped or such and such person must be killed. This is different from a free speech and a teacher trying to reform a student. That's preposterous, Vivek. And number two, my heart goes out to you because you stand up for the rights of persecuted Muslims, and that is great. I just want to ask you, in the last 5 years, 1,740 mosques in China have been demolished and destroyed, their domes gone, their minarets gone, and 1 million Muslims are in concentration camps in China being fed pork. I want to ask you, why have you never stood for those Muslims? Ever? Why don't you condemn China? You are condemning Israel from Kingdom Come. Why don't you have the guts to condemn China? I know why. Because you will say, I am lying. Yes. This is what you will say.
No, I won't say you are lying. You are just buying into American propaganda. Okay, number one. Number two, Dr. Ranganathan, do not try to see.
Whatever is convenient, they will accept. Whatever is inconvenient, they will reject. This is the classic.
Even if I accept,
this is
what Dr. Ranganathan is saying,
in this entire neo-left-driven academia, it's been intellectually corrupted and intellectually infiltrated by pan-Islamist agenda, which says calling for the culling of a particular community or the dismantling of another is perfectly fine in the academic discourse. Dr. Vijay Vishwanathan is with us, Tehseen Poonawalla with us. Yes, Dr. Vijay Vishwanathan, are you concerned that this is not going to stop only with Jews? It's going to extend to other communities, and it's already started.
Anand, and absolutely, Anand, and to Anand Ranganathan's point, in fact, the whole the concentration camps in China of the Muslims is actually the leaders of these people are trained by Harvard, right? Harvard Kennedy School actually trains the Uyghur Muslim camp heads, the CCP commissars to run them. They're actually Harvard Kennedy fellows, right? So this is how bad the problem is. It all goes back to scholarship of critical race theory. So the world is viewed as oppressors and oppressed. And so tomorrow, if you are deemed an oppressor, then the same thing happens to you. So that is why we have the caste issue now boiling up in America, because the Hindus are deemed oppressors. And so this will happen everywhere. Harvard, in fact...
No, but how come, Dr. Vishwanathan, those who drove out Kashmiri Hindus from Kashmir were never oppressors? Those who culled Sikhs during partition are never oppressors. Those who culled Hindus during partition never. Direct Action Day, those who culled 30,000 Hindus on the streets of Kolkata are never oppressors.
So they will decide who is oppressed. It has nothing to do with whether you are really oppressed or not. These are identity-based categories that are put upon certain groups, and then you get privilege. So they decide who has privilege and who doesn't. So when you look at schools like Harvard now,
Right.
The presidents, their statements to Congress, it is not at all surprising. The snakes in the Ganga. It was a canary in the coal mine. We uncovered all of this years ago, and the Indology studies itself is a canary in the coal mine, which shows that these problems are going to happen everywhere. In fact, even the whites in America have a problem today because they are considered oppressors, and they can't say anything about it. You go through struggle sessions and you have to admit guilt. So this is happening to all aspects of society across the globe. And this is essentially communism with commissars in place. If you want, Harvard and all these Ivies have one administrative person for every student in undergrad. So that's what you're paying for. So there's one administration staff for every undergrad student. So imagine 1,500. Yale, in fact, brought out the statistics. And so imagine 1,500 administration staff. These are essentially commissars, DEI officers, to make sure they indoctrinate students and so that they go out and protest. So this is what you're getting for your education.
Tehseen, please yield 10 seconds to Anand and then I'll come to you, Tehseen. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this. Vivek came to this panel as you. I exposed him and he became U/A. Now I just want to expose him further so he becomes A. When Vivek talks about, when Vivek, stop laughing, Vivek. When Vivek talks about that we defeated the Nazis, the Stalins, he defeated. Does he know? I know it's a scientist. I'm a scientist, so it's embarrassing to tell him history. But does he know about the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact? Do you know about that, Vivek? How Stalin?
Yes,
and
I'm
Hitler
aware of
came
it.
to a pact before they
Yes.
invaded Poland. Do you know about that? What do you have to say about that?
We tried
shook
peace.
hands.
When peace didn't work, we went for war.
No, that's it. See, this is
We
what
tried peace. When peace didn't happen, we
let
went for war.
us steer clear. I'm just saying this entire communist neo-left agenda has now been infiltrated and corrupted also because there is, and that's also been mentioned in Snakes in the Ganga by Rajiv Malhotra and Dr. Vijay Vishwanathan. We'll come back in just a bit, but Tehseen's been very patient. So Tehseen, unhindered, 3 minutes to you. Go ahead, please. Make your point.
So I was astonished and I was surprised when I saw this video. I wasn't surprised. I knew that this would happen because you do have the left loonies everywhere now running the academia. That is something that we should be very scared about because in that entire deposition, this question was very simple. And I always say, one is either pregnant or not pregnant. You can't be half pregnant. So either there's a call for a genocide or there is no genocide. You can't have a genocide if it affects somebody. Then when does it affect? When somebody is killed? When somebody is killed? But this is not just a problem in the Western world as I see it. This is a problem in Indian universities as well, Anand. You see, when Nupur Sharma said what she said, and I don't hold brief for her, you had people on the street saying Sar Tan se juda. On the streets of India. Is that acceptable? On the other hand, the rowdy right. So the loony left, the rowdy right. Goli maro dash dash ko. I can't use the word. Even if somebody is a traitor, are you allowed to shoot people on the streets? Or words like somebody's a termite, somebody's Somalia, or right now the recent disclose, and I tweeted about this, the whole Gau Mutra jab, that makes the whole thing, makes people susceptible to attacks. One must understand that a genocide does not happen overnight. It's not overnight that somebody comes, they have weapons and they come and they attack. There's a build-up, there's a propaganda, there is hate, there's a victim. As society that stands for free speech, we must be very clear that hate speech is not free speech. Whichever side of the spectrum we are, whether the loony left or the rowdy right, calling for the elimination of somebody is unacceptable.
Yeah, but
period.
The fact of the matter is those who espouse Pan-Islam are also rowdy right. They're also right. They're far right. They're extreme right.
True. But in India, they're confused as left, unfortunately.
That's exactly what I'm saying. How this has been corrupted the world over. Now, Dr. Vijay Vishwanathan, yes, please.
See, the other thing is the response from Jewish leaders, business leaders like Bill Ackman and people like that, right? Whereas Indian business leaders like Anand Mahindra, the Piramals, the Mittals are actually funding this. So they are actually indirectly the cause of all this because a whole host of scholars from India, of Indian background, are being trained in these institutes, in these leftist ideas. And then they go out to spew out this kind of scholarship. So if you look at someone like Bill Ackman, who takes these things seriously, who cuts funding, who writes to the Harvard board, there are other Israeli businessmen who've cut off. They said, we don't want to be on the Kennedy School board. And they have actually said these public statements. Whereas the Indian elite business people are quiet. We brought this out. We said we've done a civilizational audit. So see where your money is going and what it's producing against the Indian civilization. And we've not had a peep. Rajiv ji has gone and said, hey, I'll come and talk to you, many times. And this is, and they're just quiet. They continue to fund. They're happy being on the boards of these institutions just for the privilege of being on the board. So that is where we lack character and moral fiber, our business leaders as well.
Well, that's a very solid accusation or a solid point that you make, Dr. Vijay Vishwanathan, and it's part of your book, and this is something which you have called out openly. But the other larger concern, as Dr. Anand Ranganathan puts his hand up again, is that if the academia is intellectually corrupted, how can we actually look to them for academic excellence for our wards? Because we are sending kids from here, maximum amount of students who are going on scholarship, on merit or however, they are going from Bharat. Dr. Ranganathan.
Yes, no, I just wanted to add to that very small bit. I'm a great fan of Ms. Vishwanathan, and she and Rajiv ji have written a real masterpiece that must be read by everyone. So thank you for writing that. But just to add, you're absolutely right about Indian billionaires are actually funding, Hindu-phobic reams, if I may say so, books and texts and everything, and classes. That's a fact. But Ms. Vishwanathan, if the people who read those, the students, would be in their hundreds or possibly thousands, our government is churning out millions of students who have no knowledge about the left's Mari Jhapi massacre, where 10,000 innocent Dalits were murdered by the communists. They still eulogize Che Guevara. They still eulogize Mao, who killed 63 million of his own people. They still are people like Vivek, who eulogize Stalin, who killed 10 million of his own people. So who do we Indians put the blame? Do we put the blame on American universities who are churning out maybe 100 or 1,500 Indian students who are warped and brainwashed? Or do we blame our government, who is churning out day after day hundreds of millions of brainwashed communist zombies?
Both,
my larger point on this academia being corrupted intellectually, you can have a political ideology. The left or the communists are supposed to be atheists. How are atheists now taking sides? And how are they leaning towards sending burqa-clad women into Sabrimala, and that is all right? How are they standing there? And if this is their left-inclined communists or communist-driven or left-inclined academia, how are they okay when one group calls for the genocide of another? They're supposed to be atheists. They should have taken up a position which is not leaning towards anybody. Yes.
No. Listen to me now. Everybody, Anand has criticized the statement, genocide is wrong, calling for genocide is wrong, that is one thing. But how the academic leadership of a particular university sees it, let them be a better judge of it.
They were found, they were tested, they were served, and they were found wanting by the Congress itself. We played out the video, and the unanimous call was that none of these presidents deserve to stay on their positions because they were unable to take a clear position on such calls being made.
One more point.
Yes, Dr. Vishwanathan, and then Tehseen final word.
If we
They get funding from the US government, therefore the Congress
now, second thing is,
they get funding?
No, you cannot have political interference with the academics.
They get funding.
You cannot direct the
They get funding from the US government, and that's why the Congress asked them these questions. Ask them this question. Sir, they don't have a mind.
Are you trying to buy the teachers?
They don't seem to have a mind of their own. That mind seems to have been corrupted, sir. That intellect seems to have been corrupted by the way they were answering questions. What should be done? What should be done? Are we worried that this will actually... See, it is from these academia only that dismantle global Hindutva also erupted, sir.
Yes. There should be no interference of the government.
It is from these academia only that dismantle global Hindutva also emerged. It is from these academia only that SB 403 has also emerged.
Yes,
that which has the ulterior motive of trying to directly impact the IITs of our country. Please understand, where it is coming
No,
from,
we also
and
know
what
the agenda of
is.
changing the
Yes,
courseware.
Tehseen Poonawalla.
I
Whether it is
concede to
CBSE or it is
what I
university
concede to what
education,
Vivek said, that there must
rewriting
be
history.
Vivek, if I may.
Sir, those historians who wrote our history who believe that Yudhishthir was influenced
no,
by Ashoka
rewriting history
and by
against
Buddha.
Sutra,
These
that
are
is
those
not-
historians, sir.
that will
Let's not get into it. Yes.
I concede to what Vivek says, that governments should not interfere in universities or in intelligentsia. I agree with that. But the job in a university is to discuss in a peaceful manner within rules, framework of humanity and laws of society. If you call for genocide, it is not government interference, it is law and order breakage. And it is the goddamn duty of the government to step in, quell it, whether it is calling for genocide of
Let the
Jews,
dean and director
Hindus,
take an
Muslims
action.
or
The government is
anybody.
not supposed to act
A
still.
genocidal call is a genocidal call, and we need to stop it in the say. You cannot say we will only act when the genocide act is. Period. That's wrong.
not just.
Let the director and the dean of the institution, let the proctor interfere.
Yes,
and take some
okay,
action.
have to wind
The
up.
government
Yes,
should have
Dr.
nothing to do
Ranganathan,
with
final
it.
word. Yeah.
Yes. Now, Vivek has already denied the Chinese internment of 1 million Muslims as American propaganda. I want to ask him a simple question. Did the communists perpetrate the Mari Jhapi massacre where 10,000 Dalits were killed, Vivek? Did they do it? Yes or
Sir,
no?
Palestine is also not a Muslim problem. You see a Muslim versus Hindu everywhere. For you, Palestine is also
the
a Muslim
doctrine
problem.
of Hamas
Even
elected by
Palestine
the
is not a Muslim
Palestinians
problem.
outrightly says what? Outrightly has an agenda which is genocidal, sir. It's part of their doctrine. And that's what Dr. Ranganathan started with. Now that's what happens, sir.
Hamas
In
is not
your
Palestine.
case, sir, you are very
Hamas
selective
is
about
not
what you want to
Palestine.
listen to, what you want to
Palestine
retain, and
is
what
a
you want to
bigger-
espouse.
is a bigger
Because that
issue.
which is inconvenient escapes your notice. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I have to wind
No,
up, but
absolutely
we
not.
need
Palestine
to
is a
be
bigger
alert.
issue.
We need to be alert.
It
We're
is
going
the
to take
issue
a very
of
short
the-
break. I'm going to request Dr. Ranganathan to stay on. We'll have yet another. And Vivek Srivastava also stays on with us. Tehseen and Dr. Vijay Vishwanathan, thank you very much. When we come back.